Look at the palms of your hands right now. Seriously, stop what you're doing for a moment and really look at them. Put them together as if you were praying, with your fingers straight and aligned. Now focus on the line that forms where both hands meet, right at the base of your fingers. Can you see a smooth arc there? A gentle curve that resembles a half moon, a crescent shape that bridges from one hand to the other? If the answer is yes, you're carrying one of the most studied and mysterious symbols in palmistry for millennia. In 2026, the year we're living in right now, could be one of the most transformative periods of your entire life if you know how to work with the energy this mark represents. I know what you must be thinking right now. Here comes another mysticism video without any real foundation. Another person trying to sell me magical thinking and empty promises about destiny and cosmic forces. But hold on for a moment. I'm not here to sell you impossible dreams or make grand promises about riches and fame falling from the sky. I'm here to talk about something much more grounded and real, a pattern that ancient cultures across the world observed, carefully recorded, and connected with specific personality traits, intuitive abilities, and life patterns. The half moon on the hands is not something everyone has. In fact, it's quite rare. Various palmistry studies and observations from practitioners across different traditions indicate that less than 30% of people show this formation in a clear and well-defined way. That means if you're watching this video and you can see this symbol on your hands, you're part of a relatively small group. And here's where it gets really interesting. When you start looking at testimonies and experiences from people who have this mark, you notice something remarkable. These people, despite coming from completely different backgrounds, cultures, countries, and life situations, report experiencing very similar things. They talk about having unusually sharp intuition, about knowing things before they happen. They describe intense bursts of creativity that seem to come from nowhere. They mention feeling deeply connected to natural rhythms and cycles, especially the phases of the moon. They often feel like they're slightly out of sync with the regular world, as if they're tuned into a frequency that most people don't pick up on. Now, is this just coincidence? Is it simply a case of people reading meaning into random physical characteristics? Maybe. Science hasn't definitively proven a connection between palm markings and personality traits. But here's what I find compelling. These patterns have been observed and documented for thousands of years, across cultures that had no contact with each other. Ancient Indian palmistry texts mention it. Traditional Chinese hand reading systems reference it. Even European palmistry traditions from the Middle Ages talk about lunar markings on the hands. That kind of cross-cultural consistency suggests there might be something worth paying attention to, even if we don't fully understand the mechanism. Today we're going to explore this symbol from multiple angles. We're going to look at three main things, and I want you to stay with me through all of them because each piece builds on the previous one. First, we're going to dive deep into what it actually means to have the half moon according to ancient palmistry traditions from around the world. Not the superficial fortune-telling stuff you might see in a carnival booth, but the serious, documented observations that practitioners have recorded over centuries. Second, we're going to talk specifically about why 2026 is considered an especially powerful and important year for people who carry this symbol. There's something unique happening with the numerological energy of this year that aligns perfectly with the characteristics of the half moon, and understanding this alignment can help you navigate the months ahead with much more awareness and intention. And third, and this is perhaps the most practical and valuable part, I'm going to give you specific things you can actually do to work with this energy. Real practices, simple rituals based on observation and self-knowledge that you can start implementing today. Not complicated ceremonies that require special tools or expertise, but straightforward techniques that anyone can use to develop and strengthen the natural abilities that the half moon represents. But before we go any further, I want you to go back and look at your hands one more time. Really examine them carefully. Did you find the half moon? Can you see that crescent curve where your palms meet? Take a moment right now and leave a comment telling me whether you have it or not. Just write, I have it, or I don't have it. This isn't just for engagement, though I do read every comment. I'm asking because I want to give you specific information tailored to your situation as we go through this video, and knowing whether you have the mark will help you know which parts to pay extra attention to. And if you're still not completely sure whether what you're seeing is actually the half moon or just some other random line, let me clarify exactly what we're looking for. The half moon is a clear, symmetrical curvature that appears when you place your palms together in that prayer position. It's not just any random line or crease. It's not the major lines that run across your palm, like your lifeline or heart line. What we're looking for is specifically that arc shape at the base of your fingers, where the two hands meet and create a bridge. Think of it like this. If you were to trace the outline of a crescent moon, that's the shape we're looking for. Some people have a single, very pronounced half moon that's immediately obvious the moment they put their hands together. Other people might have smaller, more subtle arcs, or even multiple small crescents. The key characteristic is that smooth, curved shape. It should be noticeable and deliberate looking, not just a random intersection of lines that happen to meet at an angle. If you're having trouble seeing it, try this. Put your hands together and hold them up to a light source. Sometimes the shadow created by the curve makes it more visible. Or try looking at your hands from different angles. The half moon should be apparent from a straight-on view when your palms are pressed together. Some people also find it helpful to compare their hands with someone else's. If you have a friend or family member nearby, ask them to put their hands together too and look at both sets of hands side by side. Often the difference becomes immediately clear when you can compare a hand that has the half moon with one that doesn't. Now, one important thing to understand right from the start. Having or not having the half moon doesn't make you better or worse than anyone else. It doesn't determine your worth as a person or guarantee you'll have an amazing life while others struggle. What it does indicate, according to palmistry traditions, is that you might have certain natural abilities or tendencies that are more developed than average. And like any natural ability, whether it's athletic talent, musical aptitude, or mathematical thinking, it only becomes truly valuable when you recognize it and actively work to develop it. So you found the half moon on your hands, or maybe you're curious about what it means even if you don't have it yourself. Either way, let's dive into what this symbol actually represents according to the accumulated wisdom of palmistry traditions from around the world. Throughout human history, the practice of reading hands has existed in virtually every major civilization. Ancient India developed an incredibly sophisticated system called Asta Samudrika Shastra, which translates roughly to ocean of knowledge in the hand. Traditional Chinese medicine and philosophy incorporated hand reading as part of their diagnostic techniques. The ancient Greeks practiced chiromancy, and even Aristotle wrote about the significance of lines on the hand. In medieval Europe, palmistry was studied alongside astronomy and medicine as a legitimate field of knowledge. And across all of these diverse traditions, separated by thousands of miles and hundreds of years, the half moon appears again and again as a symbol of balance, of connection between two worlds. It represents the bridge between the visible and the invisible, between the rational mind and emotional intuition, between the material world we can touch and the spiritual realm we can only sense. People who carry the half moon are consistently described across these traditions as having three main characteristics. And I want to walk you through each one carefully because understanding these traits isn't just about satisfying curiosity. It's about recognizing abilities you might have been using unconsciously your whole life, abilities that become much more powerful once you're aware of them and learn to consciously develop them. The first and perhaps most prominent characteristic is heightened intuition. Now, before your logical mind dismisses this as nonsense, let me be clear about what I mean by intuition. I'm not talking about psychic powers or the ability to predict lottery numbers or read people's thoughts. What I'm describing is something much more subtle and much more real, an enhanced ability to pick up on patterns, cues, and information that most people's conscious minds filter out. Think about how much information your senses take in every single second. Your eyes see thousands of details, your ears pick up dozens of sounds, your skin feels temperature changes and air currents, your nose detects countless scents. But your conscious mind can only process a tiny fraction of all that data. Most of it gets filtered out by your subconscious, because otherwise you'd be completely overwhelmed. Now, people with highly developed intuition haven't somehow bypassed this filtering system. What they've developed instead is a better connection between their subconscious processing and their conscious awareness. Their subconscious mind notices patterns, reads micro-expressions on people's faces, picks up on subtle changes in tone of voice, processes environmental cues, and then it finds ways to communicate that information to the conscious mind as feelings, hunches, or gut instincts. If you have the half moon, you might recognize these experiences. You walk into a room and immediately sense the energy, knowing without knowing how you know whether there's tension or harmony in the space. You meet someone for the first time, and within minutes you have a strong feeling about their character, and 6 months later your initial impression is proven absolutely correct. You think about calling a friend you haven't spoken to in weeks, and literally seconds later your phone buzzes with a text from that exact person. You have a nagging feeling that you shouldn't take a particular route home, so you go a different way, and later you find out there was a serious accident on your usual route. These aren't supernatural powers bestowed by some mystical force. They're signs of a perception system that's operating at a higher level of sensitivity than average. And the half moon has been associated with this ability across multiple palmistry traditions for centuries. The curved shape itself is thought to represent receptivity, openness to information that comes through nonlinear channels. The second major characteristic associated with the half moon is heightened creativity and a fertile imagination. This connection makes sense when you understand a bit about brain hemisphere specialization. The right hemisphere of your brain, which controls the left side of your body, is associated with creativity, artistic expression, spatial reasoning, imagination, and intuitive thinking. The left hemisphere, controlling the right side, handles logical reasoning, language processing, analytical thinking, and sequential tasks. Now, everyone uses both hemispheres, of course, and the whole left brain versus right brain thing has been oversimplified in popular culture. But there is genuine neuroscience showing that people do have tendencies towards certain types of thinking, and those with strong creative and intuitive abilities often show enhanced activity in right hemisphere functions. If you have the half moon, there's a good chance you think in ways that others sometimes find unusual or unconventional. You don't follow straight linear paths to solutions. Your mind makes unexpected connections between seemingly unrelated concepts. You see possibilities where others see dead ends. You might express this creativity through traditional artistic pursuits like painting, music, writing, or dance. Or you might apply it in less obvious ways, like finding innovative solutions to technical problems, designing elegant code, creating beautiful gardens, or simply approaching everyday situations with a fresh perspective that others admire. This creative tendency often goes hand in hand with a rich inner world. People with the half moon frequently report having vivid dreams, elaborate daydreams, and active imaginations that have been with them since childhood. As kids, they might have been the ones creating elaborate fantasy worlds, telling intricate stories, or getting lost in imaginative play for hours. As adults, they maintain that connection to imagination even as they navigate the practical demands of life. The third characteristic, and one that many people with the half moon find particularly resonant, is a strong connection with natural cycles, and especially with the phases of the moon itself. Throughout human history, we've been deeply connected to natural rhythms. Our ancestors lived by the cycles of day and night, the changing seasons, the waxing and waning of the moon. These rhythms influenced when they planted crops, when they hunted, when they traveled, when they celebrated. Modern life has largely severed us from these natural cycles. We live under artificial lights that let us work at any hour. We eat strawberries in December and pumpkins in May. We're surrounded by concrete and screens instead of soil and sky. For most people, the only way they know what phase the moon is in is by checking an app or glancing at a calendar. But some people remain naturally attuned to these cycles, and those with the half moon are frequently among them. They notice that their energy levels shift with the lunar phases. During the new moon, when the night sky is dark, they feel introspective, contemplative, drawn inward. It's a natural time for rest, reflection, and planning. As the moon waxes and grows fuller, their energy rises. They feel more social, more creative, more ready to put ideas into action. When the full moon arrives, they're at their peak. Some report feeling almost euphoric during full moon nights, filled with energy and inspiration. Then, as the moon wanes, their energy gradually settles again, completing the cycle. This isn't mystical nonsense, by the way. Science has documented various ways that lunar cycles affect life on Earth. Ocean tides are the most obvious example, caused by the moon's gravitational pull. But there are also documented effects on animal behavior, plant growth patterns, and even human sleep cycles. Some studies have found that people sleep less deeply and for shorter durations during full moon periods, even when they're in completely dark rooms with no view of the sky. The difference is that most people don't consciously notice these subtle effects. People with the half moon tend to be more aware of them, more sensitive to the shifts. And once you become conscious of the pattern, you can actually use it to your advantage. You can schedule important creative work or social events for your high-energy phases. You can honor your need for rest and introspection during low-energy phases instead of pushing yourself and burning out. Now, here's what's really important to understand about all three of these characteristics. The half moon doesn't create these abilities out of nothing. It's not like you were born with a mark and suddenly magical powers were granted to you. What the half moon indicates is that you already have natural tendencies toward intuition, creativity, and sensitivity to rhythms. These are capacities that exist in every human being to some degree. But in you, they're more pronounced. They're your natural strengths, your innate gifts. But, and this is crucial, having a natural gift is not the same as having a developed skill. Think about it this way. Someone might be born with a natural aptitude for music, with perfect pitch and an innate sense of rhythm. But if they never touch an instrument, never study music theory, never practice, that natural ability remains just potential. It's only when they recognize the gift and actively work to develop it that it becomes something truly remarkable. The same principle applies to the abilities indicated by the half moon. You might have heightened intuition, but if you never pay attention to your gut feelings, never learn to distinguish between real intuitive hits and random anxiety, never develop trust in your inner guidance, then that ability remains underdeveloped. You might have creative potential, but if you never give yourself permission to create, never make time for imagination and expression, never push through the resistance that comes with making something new, then that creativity stays locked inside. You might be naturally sensitive to cycles and rhythms, but if you're completely disconnected from nature, living in a constant state of artificial stimulation, never taking time to notice patterns in your energy and emotions, then that sensitivity has no space to express itself. This is why the half moon is best understood not as a guarantee or a destiny, but as an invitation. It's an invitation to pay attention to these aspects of yourself, to notice when your intuition is speaking, to make space for creativity in your life, to observe how you're affected by natural cycles, and most importantly, to make choices that honor and develop these natural gifts rather than ignoring or suppressing them. Now I need to talk about why this specific year, 2026, holds particular significance for people who carry the half moon symbol. And to understand this, we need to look at the numerological energy of the year we're currently living through. In numerology, which is an ancient system practiced in various forms across cultures from Pythagoras in ancient Greece to traditional Chinese number mysticism, every year carries a specific vibrational quality. To find the numerological vibration of any year, you simply add up all the digits until you get a single number. For 2026, we calculate 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 6 equals 10. And then we reduce further. 1 plus 0 equals 1. The number 1 in numerological systems represents new beginnings, fresh starts, initiation, leadership, and the energy of creation itself. It's the number of pioneers, of people who start things, who take the first step into unknown territory. It represents the moment when potential transforms into action. For people with the half moon, this creates a particularly powerful alignment. Remember those three core characteristics: heightened intuition, enhanced creativity, and sensitivity to natural cycles. Every single one of those qualities is amplified by the energy of a 1 year. Let me break down what this means in practical terms. First, this is likely to be a year when you finally make decisions you've been postponing. If you've been thinking about changing careers, starting a creative project, or ending a draining relationship, 2026 provides the energetic support to actually do it. The one energy doesn't do the work for you, but it creates conditions where taking action feels more possible, where opportunities present themselves in ways that are hard to ignore. Your natural intuition becomes a crucial guide during these moments of decision. You'll have strong gut feelings about which direction to move in. Pay attention to them. Trust them. That internal compass that the half moon represents will be especially accurate and clear during this year. Second, expect your intuitive abilities to become even more pronounced in 2026. You might notice an increase in synchronicities, those meaningful coincidences that seem too perfect to be random. You're thinking about someone you haven't seen in years, and you run into them the next day. You need specific information, and you stumble upon it exactly when you need it. These aren't accidents. They're signs that you're aligned with something greater. Your dreams are also likely to become more vivid and meaningful during this year. The veil between conscious and unconscious mind becomes thinner during 1 year. And for people with the half moon who already have a natural connection to that intuitive realm, the effect is amplified. Pay special attention to dreams that occur around the full moon. Third, creative opportunities will appear. If you have any creative inclinations at all, 2026 is a year to give those impulses more space. The creative impulse isn't just about making art. It's about bringing new things into existence in whatever form speaks to you. A scientist might express creativity through innovative experiments. An entrepreneur through businesses that solve problems in novel ways. A parent through nurturing their children's imagination. The point is that creativity is fundamentally about creation, about being a source point for something new entering the world. But none of this happens automatically. The half moon isn't a magic talisman. The energy of 2026 isn't going to drop opportunities in your lap. What these factors do is create favorable conditions and amplify your natural abilities. You still have to show up and do the work. So let me give you 3 specific, practical things you can start doing right now. The first practice is to consciously trust your intuition. Throughout your day, pay attention to moments when you have a gut feeling about something. Notice that feeling without immediately overriding it with logical analysis. Then make a choice and follow up later to see if your intuition was accurate. Keep a small notebook to track this. Write down your intuitive hits and what happened. Over time, you'll develop a clearer sense of what accurate intuition feels like versus anxiety or wishful thinking. As you see that your intuition provides reliable guidance, your trust in it will deepen, creating a positive feedback loop. Over the years, I've received thousands of messages from people who discovered they have the half moon. What's fascinating is how remarkably similar their experiences are, despite coming from completely different backgrounds and cultures. One of the most common themes is a lifelong feeling of being slightly different from those around them, not in an alienating way, but in perceiving things others miss. They describe walking into rooms and immediately sensing the energy, meeting people and having instant impressions that prove accurate, knowing who's calling before checking their phone, so often it stops seeming like coincidence. One woman in her 40s wrote about spending most of her life thinking she was weird or overly sensitive. She learned to keep quiet about her perceptions because people would look at her strangely. Then she discovered the half moon on her hands, and something shifted. It validated abilities she'd always had but been taught to suppress. She started consciously paying attention to her intuitive hits, and within a year, she'd made several major life changes based on following her gut feelings. She wrote, Understanding what the half moon represented didn't change who I was. It just helped me stop apologizing for it. Another common pattern is strong connection to lunar cycles. One man tracked his mood and energy for over a year and discovered clear patterns aligned with the moon. During new moons, his energy was low and introspective. During full moons, he recorded his highest energy and most productive creative work. Once he saw this pattern, he started working with it rather than fighting it, scheduling important work for high-energy phases and giving himself permission to rest during low-energy periods. He said, "It was like I'd been swimming against a current my whole life. Once I aligned with my natural rhythm, everything became easier." There are also countless stories about dreams. One woman began keeping a dream journal after learning about the half moon and noticed certain dreams had a different quality, a clarity that stood out. When she paid attention to these dreams, she found they often contained guidance. In one dream, she walked away from a building that was beautiful outside but crumbling inside. A week later, she was offered an impressive job but felt uneasy. She researched the company and discovered a toxic culture beneath the polished exterior. She turned down the job, and months later the company made news for labor violations. The common thread is clear. People with the half moon often possess heightened abilities they've experienced their whole lives without fully understanding them. When they discover the mark, it serves as validation and permission. Permission to trust themselves, to honor their unique perceptions, to stop trying to fit into boxes never designed for them. But here's what's crucial. None of these people experienced magical transformations just from knowing about the symbol. What changed was their relationship to abilities they already had. They stopped dismissing their intuition and started trusting it. They stopped suppressing their creativity and started expressing it. The half moon didn't give them these gifts. It reminded them to use them. 2026 offers a unique window of opportunity. The number 1 energy of new beginnings. Your natural abilities indicated by the half moon. The current point in your personal journey. All converging right now. But windows don't stay open forever. The opportunity to step through, to make changes, to trust yourself is here now. Not in some vague future when conditions are perfect. Now, the half moon is not a guarantee of an easy path. What it is a reminder that you have tools. Tools of perception, intuition, creativity, and sensitivity. Tools that work, but only when you actually use them. Your intuition can guide you, but only if you listen. Your creativity can bring beauty into the world, but only if you give yourself permission. Your sensitivity can help you work with your natural rhythms, but only if you pay attention to the patterns. So here's what I want you to do before you move on. First, go to the comments and tell me if you have the half moon and which characteristic resonates most strongly. Share your experience. These comments create community among people who understand what you're experiencing. Second, commit to trying at least one of the 3 practices I shared. Pick the one that feels most relevant and start tonight or tomorrow morning. Third, if this resonated with you, share it with someone who might also have the half moon or who needs to hear this message. Remember, the half moon indicates you have certain gifts that are more developed than average. With those gifts comes responsibility. A responsibility to use them wisely, to develop them consciously, to share them generously. 2026 is your year to step fully into that responsibility, to stop playing small and start showing up as the intuitive, creative, powerful person you actually are. The window is open. The path is clear. The question is, are you ready to walk through?